Well, good evening. I'm Meteorologist Kit Thomas in the Weather Center here at ABC 24 and CW30. We have our first tornado warning on the very edge of our viewing area, but we have a lot of neighbors who watch us also in the Jonesboro area and just outside. So our signal goes a little farther. We're going to bring you that update right now. This is just outside of our area, around the Tuckerman area, moving into parts of Poinsett County, and might just clip the very edge of our viewing area presently. A confirmed tornado warning is in place for the Tuckerman area. I'll get that information on screen for you right now. This is until midnight tonight for the initial warning there across parts of Independence and Jackson County in Arkansas. If we move that, find that warning there in Poinsett County, that is for Craighead and Poinsett counties, a considerable threat with the potential for a confirmed observed tornado to move in over the next 25 to 30 minutes or so. All the way up until 12:15 is when that warning is set to expire. So this will include Jonesboro, so we'll be keeping an eye on that. Of course, this is just on the very fringe of our viewing area, but this storm is within an environment that could produce more thunderstorms, and we've got that down the line to the south. First off, I'm going to take you to where the threat is within this storm proper at the moment. If we look at the velocity on that thunderstorm, you can see that we've got some pretty decent rotation south of the Tuckerman area. And this has been confirmed by both spotters and by radar. Whenever we look north of the Campbell Station area, right here, notice that we've got that drop in the blue color there. The National Weather Service updating the polygon there. Whenever we're up towards these magenta and yellow-orange colors, that's likely just rain. Once you get dropping down into the green and blue colors here, that's where we're likely seeing debris. And we know that's debris because it is what we call co-located in the same spot as where we have the radar mesocyclone. So this is the rotation. So the radar sweeps around in a full circle, and looking out from the middle of that circle, we see winds here that are going away from the radar. So that would be going northwest. Then on the other side, just a nearby scan, they're going towards the radar right there in that green. So that's where we can draw a circle, a quick rotation of that potential for the tornado to be going down right through that area. So that's how we know that this is a tornado and you need to seek shelter. So into some of our Poinsett County areas here, it's very much on the very edge of our viewing area, but we still want to bring that threat here. This is around the Weiner area, up the Highway 49. This is US 49. That moves out towards the Grubbs area as well. So if you live in this corner of the county, you want to be taking shelter. There is a chance that this will just clip our viewing area or may just miss, but it will continue off towards the Jonesboro area as well. So we've got that threat alongside. I want to shift things south and take a look just at what else is on our map for the next several minutes here. We've got another thunderstorm that's just outside our warning. Again, it's not quite to our area just yet, but this will be moving in. This is into Jackson, White, and Woodruff counties here in Arkansas. Those will likely produce a tornado or possible severe winds, maybe some large hail as it moves towards the Fisher area here. So you notice the direction of that polygon. I'll get this on a loop here just over the last, let me just do it over the last 30 minutes. Just so we can get the most recent motion on these thunderstorms. They are moving northeast, so Fisher there, that's into parts of Cross County, Arkansas. You'll likely be seeing this storm arriving within the next 45 minutes to an hour as well. So, of course, this area is the line of thunderstorms we've been tracking over the last several hours tonight. I want to point something out to you so that you can get it in your mind for now, so that when we're continuing this coverage tonight, you can identify it for yourself. Look south of Little Rock. That red polygon there, I'm going to shift it up so I don't have to bend down so far. That's red polygon, which we've now seen one. That makes it a lot easier, just issued for the one just outside our viewing area. So bright red. This solid red polygon is a radar indicated threat. Whenever we get towards that magenta fuchsia color for the tornado warning, that is a confirmed tornado warning. So the difference between the one for Jonesboro and the one just outside of Searcy and McCrory, Arkansas, is that this is radar indicated rotation. I'm going to take you to the velocity so we can see that rotation on that storm. Notice some differences between these two storms with me. Just outside of the Tuckerman area here, we've got a much more intense rotation. There we go, that's a better view. So you can see we've got very bright, almost light blue colors, so very strong winds that are moving towards the radar here. Versus outside of Searcy, we've got some muddiness within that rotation signature. So it's not as clear, but it is rotating, and it's not as strong as the one to its north. So we could see that continue to develop, and we have yet to see it confirmed on debris detector as well. As we go back to that debris detector, we can see a little more clearly now on this northern storm. I'm going to focus on this right now. Just outside of Tuckerman, Arkansas, we've got a debris ball. So this, whenever we're looking at radar, it actually shoots out two beams. One is vertical, one is horizontal, and it compares the shape of the hydrometeors or whatever it hits, the rain, the hail, the 2x4s, the bricks, the sand, the dust, the leaves that get picked up by tornadoes and turned into the debris ball. It's telling us that there's a lot of inconsistency in the shape of that cross section of what's happening right here just to the east of Tuckerman. So that's how we know there is a tornado happening right now. This is just outside of Poinsett County. Just to the northwest of the Viner area. We'll put a measure tool on there from Viner up towards the Tuckerman area where that debris ball has been detected. It's about 17 miles right now. So that is just outside our viewing area, but since it is clipping into our area, we're bringing that warning. And we'll likely stay with this for the next, we'll call it at least 30 minutes. Possibly longer than that, depending on that severe weather threat. And of course, there's going to be the evolving situation to the south as these storms come into our viewing area. So on that latest scan that we just got with the Tuckerman storm, the debris, probable debris, has gotten into the deeper blues, so this is picking up much more. If you know anyone who lives outside of Tuckerman, outside of Vance, Arkansas, anywhere between Vance and Cache, just right there on the edge of your screen, I'll get that in a better view. If you know anyone who lives right along Arkansas 226 or the US 67 over here, just outside of the Tuckerman area, make sure that you give them a call, wake them up, make sure that they are in their safe place. Neighbors helping neighbors during severe weather is something that we always got to keep our minds on. Looking to the south here, I'm not seeing any debris on this one. You may notice there's some of that bright green. That might actually be hail contamination, not tornado debris. As we look at the hail tracks for this thunderstorm, we've seen some hail already being produced by this, and since the radar is pretty much along the line of that storm, if we look back at radar right around here, notice that purple shade in there? That is likely hail, so that's why we have that, that possible hail contamination there on our debris detector. So once again, going back to that, notice it's acting as a shadow because the radar beam can get jumbled up in the hail core that's right around in here, and so it looks like more noise coming back on debris detector. So looking at radar right now, this storm does have that classic hook echo. That's why it's got a tornado warning on it, and that rotation that's inducing that tornado potential around that area. I want to take this on a wider view and show you what's happening across Arkansas right now, because this is about to move into our neck of the woods here in East Arkansas, part of our viewing area. These storms are moving to the east-northeast very quickly. Let me get a update on how fast those storms are moving. But as they're moving towards the northeast, they're going to bring that threat to here in the mid-south. It's moving northeast around 50 miles per hour. So these are moving at about highway speed. So we're going to see these storms arrive to our area within the next couple of hours. Let's just take a quick measure on some of these thunderstorms right now. If we get these storms moving at around 50 miles per hour, I'll have to change the property on that just so I can get that proper estimate of its speed. So bear with me. I'll track this one just north of McCrory moving east-northeast around 50 miles an hour for the next hour. Looks like it'll be in some of these locations here. So the Fisher area. Fisher, it'll be midnight when it's getting to your area. The start of the rain. Not necessarily the tornado threat, but the start of the thunderstorm. Fisher by around 12 a.m. Viner, you're going to be looking at 12:10, 12:11 for the start of this. We were talking about you being just on the outside of this tornado warning, the confirmed tornado. But we've got another one just to your south that will likely be in your vicinity within the next few hours. Truman, Arkansas, you're around 12:35. Weona Junction around 12:24. So we'll continue to see these storms pushing in. Meanwhile, if we go a little bit farther to the south and west here, we've got a storm outside of the Carlisle and Little Rock area here. This one's going to take a little longer to get to us, but we'll still track it out. That leading edge going northeast, we'll do it for the next 2 hours here just to get a good sense of how long it will be before we see this here into West Memphis. It's going to be about 1:40 a.m. If this thunderstorm holds together, it'll be in West Memphis at 1:40 a.m. Then we'll see it moving into Memphis after that, just with that direction these storms are moving. So we've got a long night ahead of us. It's looking like we're going to see many of these thunderstorms push into our area. Granted, I've been looking at some data from the National Weather Service that's been pushing a lot of stability. When we have severe thunderstorms, we need instability. That's going to allow those thunderstorms to bubble up very quickly. We have some stable layer over us right now. The thing is, once these thunderstorms get going, they can push through that lid, sort of like a lid on a pot. If you get it boiling up too long, or if you have your cat come and bump into it, it'll start to erupt very quickly, and we'll have a severe thunderstorm likely moving into our area very soon. So all of those belabored analogies there, it's likely to be a long night ahead with these severe thunderstorms developing. So right now, the tornado that is confirmed up here towards the Tuckerman and Jonesboro area, we'll flip back to our velocity. This shows the wind speeds within the storm. And one thing I'll notice, I'm going to go back the last 30 minutes and we'll track this very slowly, just step by step. Notice back towards the Newport area, we had a very strong, what's called the mesocyclone. That's the rotating part of the thunderstorm. It's very strong. We've got those winds that are into the severe range there in that light blue color, and then the winds that are moving away are in the light red. Meanwhile, it's continued past the Tuckerman area over the last 20 minutes or so. And then it started to weaken. We're not seeing quite so strong, so we're getting more into the middle range here. So that is a weakening mesocyclone. That means it's spinning down, it's spinning more slowly, that's good. And it looks like its motion is carrying it past our viewing area. So that is some good news there as well. I'm going to take a moment to step away from that storm. And I want to take you to the south here towards Greenwood, Mississippi. This is another tornado warning that is confirmed by spotters in the area. This tornado warning, again, outside of our viewing area, but this is one of the storms that we've been considering over the last couple of hours that are coming from the south to the north. And we've seen just a few waves of these weak storms that just haven't done anything for us. But this storm has started to turn more towards the northeast. Rather than going straight north, it's heading northeast, maybe eventually towards the Grenada area, maybe just south of there. Whenever we see these storms turn from north to northeast, they're turning into the wind field, and that can enhance their tornadic capabilities. So that's something else we're going to be watching for. Anytime they take what's called a right turn with respect to their relative motion, we'll see the potential for a tornado to develop with that kind of a thunderstorm. The ones along the line, they're not quite so clear as that storm to the left, to the south, I should say. But we still have numerous warnings along this line, broken line of thunderstorms across Arkansas. This is pretty much what we were considering to be the threat for tonight. Over the last couple of days, we kept saying it was a conditional threat. That condition has not been met for the Memphis area and proper. We've just seen a few weak showers that did not tap into that potential energy up above. That being said, we now have storms that have already started, and once they get going, they will continue to break through whatever stability is out ahead of them. And that's been happening from northwest Arkansas through north central Arkansas, now into northeast Arkansas. I want to take another dive back into that storm that's off towards the Jonesboro area. Excuse me, that is the wrong tool. If you'll give me a moment, I'll reselect that radar tool. Let me just clear that off real quick. So if we look at that storm off towards the northeast, you can see pretty clearly with that storm. It's been pretty strong. You've got some upper level winds or upper level radar signatures within that storm that show that we have an anvil. So we've got the storm that's blowing the winds from the surface up into the clouds here. Whenever we have this overhang, that means that we've got plenty of winds that are pushing the storm forward. And that means that as the rain falls out of this part of the storm, we can continue to pull up here into the storm, and we get sort of this vertical cycle here. So that keeps that updraft going, and that'll keep the storm healthy and breathing as it progresses through over the next several hours tonight. So that is a sign that these storms are very healthy, that the environment is helping them along very quickly tonight, and they'll continue to produce some severe weather, be it severe winds, severe hail, or damaging tornadoes. All of those threats are possible tonight. So I'm going to take you back to that correlation coefficient here. This is called the debris detector. It's technically called the correlation coefficient. What I am seeing is a lack of that debris signature. If I go back over the last few scans here, a moment ago, we noted here, I want you to look, I'm going to pull this a little bit closer to me on the camera here so I can reach it as I'm pointing. Notice how we track that back just a little bit here. We don't see a debris detector, a debris ball, until right about here, just to the west of the Newport area. And then it continues to push to the northeast very slowly, and then it starts to track more of an easterly direction just south of the Tuckerman area. And then now it's taken a little more of a western turn. So as it sort of tracks, I'll draw it on here. This will be a very crude drawing, but notice that it took that northeast to east to then to northwest. And as it turned back to the left, it took a right turn here, and as it turned back to the left, we'll go back through, see how good my drawing skills were. As it turned back to the left, it began to weaken and diminished a little bit. So I was a little bit off there, but as it took that left turn, it weakened, and it seems to have dissipated. So that may be some good news. However, I'll put the caveat on that we may see this getting a little farther from the radar site. So sometimes it just is a weaker debris ball, but it may be a lower scan of the debris, so it might not be showing up on radar. One good thing to note, we just had our tornado warning here in Poinsett County has been allowed to be trimmed back. The National Weather Service just took that bottom part of that warning and took it out of our area. That's now into, let's see here, I believe that's, I've forgotten the name of the warning. Let me just pop it back up there for you. Craighead County. I had Crittenden in my head. Apologies. But Craighead County still under that threat of a tornado, but Poinsett County no longer under that threat now. So we no longer have a warning in our viewing area. But before we drop out of coverage, of course, I want to bring you all of the information that we can as we have your attention. To the south, we've got more thunderstorms that are starting to develop in southern parts of Quitman County. This is south of the Marks area here. These thunderstorms may start to overcome the stability that is to their north, similar to how the one to our south near the Greenwood, Mississippi area has developed into a tornado-warned storm. We also have another tornado-warned storm here just outside of our viewing area that is around Augusta, Arkansas. this storm is my next level of concern. One thing that can sometimes happen with this kind of a setup is you start to see the strengthening of those tornadoes happen as more storms form down the line. I'll take you to a wider picture of this. Notice that we've got several of those hot pink color tornado warnings along the line up here. Then as you go farther and farther south, we've got a severe thunderstorm warning, an unconfirmed tornado warning down towards southern Arkansas. And if we switch to the full radar and satellite picture here, you can actually sort of see how that line has curved back and away towards the Texarkana area. So we may start to see the strength of these tornadoes increasing towards the south, because there's still a lot of instability south of here that these storms can move into and may begin to develop more upscale. Upscale meaning more intense, more tornadic, more supercellular. So this is a very classic setup, a very classic line of supercell thunderstorms that have not congealed into a single squall line. That makes it a little easier on us for tracking them. It makes it harder in the sense that we have more tornado potential for these thunderstorms. So we're keeping an eye there. This is just, again, outside of Augusta, Arkansas here, current tornado warning. Give me a moment, just bear with me as I take a look at the National Weather Service here to see what they have, any updates to these storm warnings. Of course, Poinsett County no longer within that tornado warning, but Craighead County just to the north around Jonesboro, we continue with the tornado warning with also considerable hail. So when we talk about considerable hail, that's more damaging hail than just your baseline. It's up to half dollar size. That's 1.25 inches across. That can do a lot more damage to vehicles caught out in a storm. Excuse me. So we're looking at the hail track with that thunderstorm. It's not showing up. There we go. We just updated there. So we've started to see some larger hail. I'll see if I can pop a query there and see. All right, so this is measuring with the radar hail 1.3 inches. So that's right on where the warning is warned for. And this is also just rounding that 0.25 up to 1.3 inches. So definitely looks like we've got some hail within that thunderstorm moving towards the Jonesboro area. If this were to take a right turn, we would likely see that hail moving along or north of the Jonesboro area. Of course, those warnings are just not on that particular product. I want to take you to our northern Mississippi viewing area here, though, as we're starting to see some of those showers moving into southern Quitman County. For the moment, let's see here. Cleveland and Duncan counties, they're working on another tornado warning in the National Weather Service. So I'm going to keep an eye out for where that may be issued here very shortly. Let me just get a quick check on this warning here. The warning description for that storm, moving northeast around 50 miles per hour. So everything's moving about the same speed. So that makes it a little bit easier to keep track of this. So we could see some of that storm. Looks like it's been upgraded to golf ball sized hail within that thunderstorm warning. So that's 1 3/4 inch diameter hail. So now we've seen in this storm here, north of the Augusta area, I'll clear off that warning description. We've actually seen the hail get pretty large within this thunderstorm. So golf ball size hail, of course, much larger. That does a lot more damage. It carries more momentum as it is falling through the thunderstorm. We can take a look at those hail tracks at the moment within that storm. We've seen that track. Of course, that bright green color was around the 1 1/4, 1.5 inch range. That's going to start to move towards Tupelo, Arkansas, and then eventually towards the Fisher area once it gets into our region. Let's see here. I'll get back to the radar view. Bear with me for a moment. It takes a moment to load sometimes, but we've seen numerous of these storms across parts of Arkansas, but they just haven't quite formed into our viewing area just yet. I believe they're they were working on a tornado warning just outside of our viewing area, well up to the north here. Yeah, so that's Clay and Dunklin County. So that's an update outside of our viewing area. So that's some good news. We don't have a new tornado warning issued presently. I'm going to step off screen real quick. I'm going to grab myself a quick glass of water here. So we're seeing some of these thunderstorms pushing northeast around 50 miles per hour. It's going to take a while for them to get to us here across the Memphis area. Of course, if we look towards the southwest from here, we've got other thunderstorms that are moving just outside of the area there around Little Rock. That's moving almost right along the I-40 corridor. And that could be one of the storms that threatens the Memphis area proper. If we look a little farther towards the south from there, around Thornton, Arkansas, a couple of severe thunderstorms that have somewhat merged there with a severe thunderstorm warning and a tornado warning. Give me one moment. All right, I'm going to keep this water bottle over here with me. So we've got a couple of different warnings around the area as well. So we're going to just stay on air because these storms are likely to progress into our viewing area. The thing is, we don't have any active warnings, and ordinarily if we didn't have any storms present within our viewing area, we would return to programming. But since it is the late night hour and we are going to see these storms continue through the next several hours, and we're anticipating these storms to move into our area, we're going to go ahead and just make the call to stay on air for now. As we take a look at that storm to the north and east, northwest of our viewing area, it still is a healthy storm. You can notice with me, we've got that bend in the radar imagery. I'll get a pause on it so we can get a better sense of it. Whenever we talk about a hook echo, we talk about the back side of that storm as it's moving towards the northeast here. The backside of that storm has sort of that hook, that curl to it. If you look at the back of your left hand, I'll use my right hand here as comparison, notice how it has that hook shape to it. That thumb appendage of that lower flank of the storm having that shape indicates that we have rotation. We can verify that by looking at the velocity signature, and that's what we've been seeing for the chance for a tornado. All right, we're at 12 a.m. now, so if you were just tuning in, I'll go ahead and reset. We are covering what programming comes on around this time for the threat of severe weather that is through the Mid-South, and right now it is moving through parts of Arkansas. Currently, we have no severe thunderstorm warnings or tornado warnings within our proper viewing area, but we did have a tornado warning into parts of Poinsett County earlier on. That was then trimmed out, but we have another tornado warning that's moving out of parts of Arkansas towards our viewing area. So we wanted to just stay with the threat as we continue over the next several hours. As we look towards the south and west from here, we have more severe thunderstorm warnings still outside of our viewing area, but that they will move into our area over the next several hours here. So I'm looking at a storm just to the south of our viewing area. This is a confirmed tornado warning. This is, again, just outside of our viewing area. If you know anyone between Grenada and Winona, Mississippi, give them a call, wake them up, make sure that they are able to tune into their local weather station out of the Jackson area. Our signal doesn't quite go this far south, but make sure that they are aware and they can get the warnings information that they need based on this severe thunderstorm setup that we have. Looking up the line, of course, we've got numerous other confirmed tornado warnings. If you're just joining us, I'll review some of these warning boxes. Whenever we have this solid red box, that is a tornado warning that is radar indicated, but we have not gotten confirmation. Where we get to the hot pink color here, that is where we have had either a spotter, someone who is out in the field who has confirmed a tornado is active, or radar has confirmed that there is a tornado. There's a few ways we'll look at in a little while about that. Another couple of confirmed tornado warnings there in far southeastern Missouri. Towards the boot heel of Missouri, we have a couple of tornado warnings now. One that has now been updated. So Jonesboro, sometimes we do get some viewers out of the Jonesboro area, so I want to focus on that storm, as this one has had a history of a confirmed confirmed debris section on that storm. And we were talking about earlier how it's sort of phased down, and now it may have phased back up. That initial warning for Jonesboro, Arkansas here, I'll scoot this out from behind me here. If you just give me a moment, that looks like Jonesboro has been cleared from the tornado threat. Let's look at the velocity, the spin, the speed of those winds here. Looks like that rotation is just here outside of the Jonesboro area. So that's moving out of Craighead County towards the Paragould area up there. So that is moving farther away from our viewing area. And now we just turn our attention to this storm. Again, this is just outside of Cross County, not Cross County, of Poinsett County there. Let's get information on that tornado warning there just outside of Beetleville. We've got Jackson, White, and Woodruff counties there under that current tornado warning. It's not confirmed right now, so that's good, but we see that we've got that rotation there, pretty stout rotation. It's been healthy within the last 30 minutes. When I say healthy, we see that we've had some brighter colors there. When you look at our legend up here, we've got that severe threshold. Right here is where it starts severe. Right here is where we see more significant severe. That's actually 75-mile-per-hour winds. And there's a couple pixels within that of that darker blue, so that's likely where we're seeing some very strong winds within that storm. That was about 10 minutes ago. Recently, it has weakened, but we still see some bright red, bright green. So within this zone here, we have the rotation. If you ever have been chasing yourself, or if you are familiar with weather terminology and cloud structure, whenever we talk about a wall cloud, that is the lowering beneath the base of a thunderstorm, where you see the base of the storm and then there's a big drop, and you see that drop is rotating. That is known as a wall cloud, versus a funnel cloud, which is a very narrow band of clouds that is rotating as well. A funnel cloud is the precursor to a tornado. A wall cloud is the rotation of the thunderstorm's updraft, and that's what we're seeing on radar. We're not seeing a tornado, we're seeing the mesocyclone, the rotating updraft of that thunderstorm. Whenever we have a rotating updraft, that frequently drops a tornado, and that's why this is warned for a tornado, because we could see a tornado form at any time, but we cannot see straight to the ground with radar. We can look at debris though. Sometimes if a tornado is producing debris, we can see that on radar, and it doesn't appear that we have any. So I'm looking from Arkansas's Little Rock radar and from the Memphis radar. The thing is, we're right there at the transition point where one radar from Arkansas, Little Rock, and one radar from Memphis is meeting, but they go out from the ground. So if this is the ground and the radar beam is going up, eventually that tornado could be somewhere in the middle here, and we just cannot see it. So it may be below the radar beam, effectively invisible to our detection methods. So that's why we're keeping with this potential for a tornado to move into our area here. The storm that's moving into Poinsett County, the National Weather Service is monitoring this right now. They're also watching it right alongside me. So they're considering a tornado warning extension into our area. I'm going to step away for a moment here. We'll continue on air coverage right now, but I'm just going to grab myself a sip of water. Just give me one moment, please. All right, thank you for bearing with me here. Of course, the I-55 corridor there, presently just outside of any threat. But if you live anywhere around the Marked Tree area, up towards the Jonesboro region, you're sort of up next for this tornado threat here. If we look a little more broadly here, we really don't see much that's going on. As we're sort of in a lull right now between some warnings, I want to bring you some of the information just of the setup, because maybe you haven't tuned in all day to get an update of what that severe weather threat is. But I want to take you through this here. So we've got that severe weather threat at a level 4 risk for our area. That is the second highest risk that exists. And that can bring the chance for multiple hazards, not only severe winds, but tornadoes as well. And we can break this down here. We were seeing the potential for a hatched risk of a tornado threat. So whenever we have a hatched risk, that means a significant threat is present. Whenever we talk about significant threats for tornadoes, that is EF2 scale or stronger. Whenever we have a very strong thunderstorm rolling through, that can sometimes bring the chance for very strong tornadoes. So EF2 it starts at 111 mile per hour winds. So that is very strong winds, and that can bring significant damage to a single family home. And we've got that mid to upper range risk. We really don't see the dark purple shade for the tornado threat used very often. Tomorrow, outside of our viewing area, we've got that pink shade, so that is a high risk just outside of our viewing area. Looking at the severe hail threat here, we have a 30% chance, that's the red shade here, with that significant hail chance. Significant hail would be 2 inches in diameter or larger. We've already seen warnings with 1.75 inches, that's golf ball size. 2 inches is about the size of a lime. The significant wind threat is also present, though it's more north of our viewing area, especially once you get into that pink shade, the higher end of the scale there. We're still in the 30% risk here, where we could see 60 to 75 mile per hour winds, technically up to 80 mile per hour winds based on the present severe thunderstorm tornado watch that is present. If you'll bear with me for a moment, I'm going to go into this graphic here and I'm going to change what model we're using. This one hasn't been performing quite up to par as I would hope it would over the last several hours tonight. It was modeling that we would have storms already going across the area, and we just haven't seen that. So I'm switching over to a different one here. I'm going to drag this through by hand. This one has been severely under-modeling, under-representing everything, so that's why I haven't been looking at it. And if you'll bear with me, I just need to honestly sit here and forecast, analyze what it is showing. So this one is showing around 12 a.m. We've got that line of storms. It does have that represented, though notice that it's about, we'll say 25, 40 miles northwest of reality. So there is some error. Every model is wrong. That's one thing you have to think of in a meteorology world, is every model is wrong, but it's right to a certain extent. So we've got to figure out which ones are right where and compare different models. So that's what we're going to do. This particular model starts off some thunderstorms right along the Mississippi River, right along the bluff, right around 2 a.m.'s time frame. That's actually right before 3 a.m. And then it continues those storms very weakly until around 6 a.m. So then we've got more of those thunderstorms across western Tennessee, northern Mississippi through daybreak. And then we continue with that threat through the mid-morning time frame here. And then that continues past 11 o'clock, noon here. We continue with that across northern Mississippi. A lot of very heavy rain being modeled here. Whenever we see that pink to purple color shade just south of the Oxford area, that's where we could see a potential for maybe some hail being embedded. This model then brings it out of our viewing area by around 3 to 4 o'clock's time frame. And then as we switch into the afternoon, we're mostly in the clear, though we'd get a resurge there across the Tunica to Clarksdale area, Holly Springs, Oxford, up towards Bolivar, out through McNairy County by around midnight tomorrow. So this model brings us a pretty complex view over the next several hours here. Let me look at another model here. I want to see what this may show us. This is the long-range So here, like I said, every model is going to be a little bit wrong. Notice that this has convection happening across northern Mississippi and around the Memphis area. That is not happening right now. So this is already not a good sign that this would be a good model to trust, though it does bring a line of storms from northeast Arkansas into the Memphis area, up towards Dyersburg around the 1 a.m. time frame. So there's a little bit right, a little bit wrong with this model. So we'll continue it forward. It clears things out for our area with some more scattered, weaker storms around 5 a.m. I'm going to turn off that interpolation so that we just get step by step. Here we are, 6 a.m., 7 a.m., we've got scattered thunderstorms, maybe some more intense storms. 8 a.m., we start to see more complex storms moving up the river into the Memphis metro, northern Mississippi, along I-40 as well. And then that continues through noon, and we start to see sort of that weakening trend across Memphis, and it pushes east, similar to that other model. I'm going to go to yet another model here. For a moment, I'm going to jump back to radar just to make sure that we're not missing anything, as we've seen some updates, it looks like, to those some of the tornado warnings that are present. So yes, we have a new update here. This is now into Poinsett County. So we'll get back to the forecast in just a moment. Poinsett County, you're now under a new tornado warning. You were under one previously, and that one was allowed to be drawn out of your area. But now, Fisher, up towards the Weiner area, we've got a new tornado warning. Now, this is radar indicated. Notice it's not the hot pink color, it's that bright red color. So this is unconfirmed, but radar indicated. Let's examine that right now as we look at the velocity. So we see we've got some broad rotation within that thunderstorm. Excuse me. So the Fisher area up Highway 49, that's US 49, past Arkansas 14. This is outside of the Harrisburg area, up towards Weiner, and on up towards the Jonesboro area. Eventually, we have this radar indicated tornado threat. Meanwhile, we have that other severe thunderstorm warning that's along the Interstate 40 corridor. This is presently along just outside of our viewing area, but this will likely move into parts here of St. Francis and Lee County after that warning is allowed to expire. So that current tornado warning, Poinsett County, we'll get that information on the screen for you. Craighead, Poinsett counties, radar indicated threat, so not confirmed by spotters or by radar, but that's until 1 a.m., so we've got about another 45 minutes on that storm, though the threat here in Poinsett County will likely be greatly diminished before we get to the 1 a.m. time frame here. So as we look a little bit more wide scale here, we're starting to see that line across northeastern Arkansas approaching the boot heel of Missouri. Some of our viewers actually can, or some of our signal does reach to parts of the boot heel there of Missouri. So we do have some people who occasionally will watch us off to the north there. So if you are in that area, of course, we hope that you are staying safe there. That's into parts of our very, very fringe counties, county viewing area there. So I want to take you back to that storm. Of course, this is multiple threats with that present storm. $half sized hail, so that would be 1 1/4 inch, 1.25 inch hail with that thunderstorm. I'll get that hail track on. As we've seen, the path of that storm has seen some hail, but it looks like it's been diminishing, at least on our product here. Outside of the Augusta area, we had some hail right around that light blue. That's where it becomes severe hail, and we've seen that diminishing here, which could be some good news that the hail is less of a threat. I want to go back to our radar shot here of this current thunderstorm. I want to take a cross section. So this will be from the southwest to the northeast of that thunderstorm. So I grab that and start to slice through the storm. This is one thing that I was mentioning a moment ago, how we've got the updraft of the storm right there. That's that hook echo. Remember how I taught you the left-hand rule, left hand for you, right hand for me. We've got that hook. And as that rotating updraft is coming up, it's throwing all of the rain downwind. So that is keeping everything out ahead of the storm. And then it's going up and then down. So imagine with me that it's getting thrown up, deeper into the picture and falling north. That's keeping the storm very healthy. So we're likely seeing this storm continuing to flow to the northeast with a sustained severe threat as well. Let's take a clearer look at the radar here. It takes a moment to get out of that perspective. Excuse me, I'll have to reapproach that scene now. I'll have to reload it. All right, so Jonesboro, you're in a new tornado warning. If you're watching us from the Jonesboro area, this is a second tornado warning you've had tonight. This is something that is, again, it's very much on the fringe of our viewing area, but folks do live out there, and we want to bring that threat to you out here right now. Looking towards the Forest City area, though, you're in the clear presently. Down towards Panola County, just a few showers rolling through, honestly. And that Greenwood area just to our south, that is no longer a confirmed tornado. It is a radar-indicated tornado about to cross the I-55 corridor. Excuse me for a moment as I grab a sip of water here. Fortunately, things have not gotten too crazy in the Memphis area, and we'll continue with that more quiet, settled weather for a little while, but things could pick up in the next several hours. All right, excuse me. So I want to check in with the National Weather Service. If you'll bear with me for a moment, I want to see if they have any potential updates with these storms here. There seems to be some chatter about some of the Greene County storms that's off towards far extreme northeast Arkansas there. I haven't seen any reports just yet of damage with these storms, though earlier in the evening, as these storms were still back across northern Arkansas, we've heard of several homes damaged in that region by some of the storms that have moved off towards the north and east from there. So if you'll give me just one moment here, I would like to communicate with some of our production staff here on the digital side of things, that we are just making sure that we are fulfilling all of our duties here. All right, so one-man band here, keeping things going as much as we can. But along the I-555 corridor here, this is just outside of Memphis. We see that we've got some of those thunderstorms that are moving through just on the fringe of our viewing area. But it seems like things will continue over the next several hours here. For the moment, that tornado threat is very radar indicated, so it's very uncertain if it is down at the surface just yet. Now, if you've been following for the last hour, half hour or so, I've mentioned a couple of times that whenever we see that dark blue shade, that is an indication of debris. However, there's always a caveat with some of these things. If we look right there, right where that's Highway 14, Arkansas 14 indicator marker is, if we switch over to the velocity indicator, this actually is not in the same place where we have the broad rotation. So there we have very strong winds, upwards of the severe limits. There we have winds that are just away from the radar. So that's where we have the rotation. Out here ahead, we don't have quite as much rotation. So then we switch over to radar, and we examine that this is clear air. There's no precipitation happening, very, very weak precipitation on the north side. So this is clear air. So this, as we see on the debris detector, in that zone, there is no rain, there is no velocity couplet, so that is not a tornado debris signature. So that's some good news that we can appreciate with this storm, that's telling us that technically is not the tornado. We would see a tornado potential in this area here. So that's some good news, but we do still have some of that very significant rotation within the storm. So that's where we've got that potential there as well. Whenever we have rotation with a thunderstorm, we've got to keep many different layers to it in mind. This is what the National Weather Service is doing when they issue these tornado warnings. So sort of taking you through their thought process of why this is not a confirmed tornado. It is just radar indicated tornado. We've got that significant mesocyclone, that rotation, the rotating updraft of the storm. That's the main indicator of that, but it's not quite significant enough for us to confirm it as a confirmed tornado touchdown. So with that in mind, we'll come back to that in just a moment, but I want to resume what we were sort of talking about, the forecast with these storms. As we go through the next several hours with these storms tonight, I was in the middle of switching that model here. So let's go ahead and save that and we'll play it through here as well. We'll take a moment here as these storms continue to push towards the northeast. We will see those storms eventually developing towards the northern parts of Mississippi. So that first wave here, I'll start this back over. It doesn't look like we've got those storms quite moving through the Memphis area. It focuses them more towards northern Mississippi into a line towards Tupelo, towards Columbus, outside of our viewing area. As we go beyond 4 a.m., 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 p.m., a.m., I'm going to add a few more pause points here as we'll push this forward here. 8 a.m., we've got more thunderstorms across northern Mississippi, another broken line of storms across southeastern Arkansas. Then as we go towards the 10, 11 a.m., this is sort of another wave of storms that we see. This is actually very similar to another model we were looking at earlier that earlier in the evening, I haven't pulled that one up just yet, but earlier in the evening there was a curved line of storms developing from Memphis down the I-55 corridor and back towards the Wynne, Arkansas area. So this is something that's similar. So since we've got multiple representations of it, that builds confidence that it may be what will actually happen when we go through and verify. So continuing forward here, that curved bowing structure pushes into western Tennessee here through the 1 to 2 p.m. time frame here. And then we've got another line of thunderstorms that develops behind that right there along the Mississippi River around 2 p.m., 3 o'clock. We've got I don't know, what, 4th, 5th wave of thunderstorms rolling into the Memphis area here around 3 o'clock. So tomorrow is going to be a very busy day, it seems, as that continues to push east around 4 p.m. We'll march this on forward 5, 6, 7 p.m. This model has been fairly consistent as I cover up that last little bit. 5 to 6 p.m. it marches out of our viewing area. This model's been representing this late afternoon push of storms pretty consistently over multiple runs. So that is an affirmation, at least, that it may be onto something. It's not necessarily a pure gospel sense of that it is going to happen, but we could see that indication of higher confidence that it may happen. Looking outside of the Jonesboro area, it looks like emergency management is sharing a video that we don't have permission to share on air, but it looks like there is a wall cloud on the storm just outside of the Jonesboro area. So let's return to our radar view of that current tornado warning just outside of Poinsett County. So we've got that storm, still unconfirmed tornado, radar indicated, but as we return to the velocity signature here, we've got sort of a donut hole here of the radar signature. So and as we get the next scan, that donut goes away. Well, you see that we've got that rotation there, so we've got the broad scale. So based on that image from the emergency manager, it looks like We've got at least rotation with a potential for some wall cloud structure. Again, the base of the storm has dropped a little bit, and could be some rotating features. And from a wall cloud can sometimes produce a tornado. We've got some information here from the National Weather Service. I'm going to scan here. Ahead of these thunderstorms, they're saying the threat of tornadoes, the tornado environment is still significant. But over the next several hours, it looks like it's going to decrease in magnitude. So that's a good thing to hear. The thing is, a new area of development is possible across central Mississippi, and that could then move into possibly our southern viewing area. So, of course, we've been talking about this storm just to our south here. I'm going to swap back over to our radar picture. Looks like they just updated to a confirmed tornado warning with, excuse me, it might not be a confirmed, but it may be a different factor. So it says considerable for radar indicated. So the colors, I made a small assumption earlier, or a simplification, I should say, with the colors here. The threat is based on the considerable tag, not the source of if it's confirmed or not. If it is confirmed, then they do upgrade it to a considerable threat. However, the considerable threat tag for that tornado warning, that is for 1.5 inch diameter hail, so that is very large hail that does considerable damage, if you see, if you follow from there. So that is, again, outside of our viewing area, but thunderstorms to the south could move north and move through parts of our far southern viewing area, just clipping into perhaps the Oxford area there, that's into parts of Lafayette County. Right now, we see down I-40, we do have another severe thunderstorm warning that's been there for the last little while. At this point, we're doing what we call babysitting the radar, just in case a new warning is issued and we need to jump back in. Since there's not major programming happening around this time frame, we don't really feel the need to return to normal programming. So we're going to stay with this threat through the overnight tonight as they continue to progress through the area. I'm just stepping off camera for the moment to check another resource that we don't have at the wall presently. But whenever we have that tornado warning expire, we'll likely stay with this as we have multiple severe thunderstorm warnings that could move into our area over the next several hours tonight. As I move the camera south here, you can see along I-40, we've got those thunderstorms just outside of our viewing area. So that's just outside of St. Francis County and Lee County, Arkansas. That's where Forest City and Marianna, Arkansas are located. We may see that thunderstorm begin to weaken. I actually want to loop this here over the last hour and just see if I slow that down. Bear with me for a moment. Slow that down just a little bit. Some of the hail core, if you notice in that western flank of the storm, there are some pockets of deep purple shade. I'll jump back on the camera here. You'll see me coming from the other direction. We see some deep purple shading on the backside of this thunderstorm here. That's where we see the hail most likely. It's very intense precipitation the radar is picking up on. So that is where we've seen the more intense hail. In recent scans, I'll just get a pause and I'll just find some particular scans here. So this was 12:06, the present time 12:30, just south of the Carlisle area. That is a hail core. If we progress this, we'll say another 15 minutes or so forward, we see that we still had that hail core, again, about 10 minutes ago. Now if we go to real time, the hail core is very broken up. We see we've got some dark brown colors in there, a little bit of purple in there. The hail core is becoming more disorganized. So that may be a sign that this storm is weakening. It might not be quite so strong as before. I want to actually look at the radar and what I'm going to do. So we have sort of a clip here at the bottom of the radar legend here. We can detect lower signal than that. We just have it clipped off because usually nothing really interesting happens at those lower ends of the scale. But sometimes when we start to see a storm weakening, we can see in all of this noise here, we can sometimes see a little wave coming out of the storm, and that's the outflow of the storm. And that would indicate that it's more what we call outflow dominant. I'm not seeing that right now, but I was just telling you what I was looking for. I'm not seeing that, and when it becomes outflow dominant, that's when it's an exhale. It's pushing all of its air out of the storm, and it's no longer breathing in. So that can sometimes mean that it's a weakening storm, and we might not see that severe thunderstorm warning moving into our area or reissued for our area. Again, not seeing that, so we'll continue to follow that threat. I'm going to swap back up to this tornado warning right now. I want to check in on velocities once more. As you can sort of see on radar, we'll swap back real quick. You can sort of see we've got that hook on the backside and then more of the sort of a corresponding hook, sort of a loop-de-loop on itself as the storm is wrapping up. So we're seeing that potential couplet of radar of the velocities there. That is now what we call embedded rotation. So it's no longer got free air out ahead of it. So this is a signal that if there is a tornado, it will be rain wrapped. It will be shrouded. Not only is it rain wrapped, but there's, of course, it's dark, so you wouldn't be able to see it anyhow. Though we do have an abundance of lightning with this that occasionally can illuminate a tornado, at least in its shadow. With it being rain wrapped, that is far more difficult. It's always difficult to chase and dangerous to chase at night, but whenever we have a rain wrapped tornado at night, that is one of the most dangerous scenarios for a tornado if you're trying to spot it by sight. One other thing I'm noticing is we're starting to see not only this main couplet here, but a new region of rotation on the south side of this. And we've got a new scan here, and we still have that main area of rotation and then we'll call it a maximum of the winds here with a minimum of winds there. So another weak area of rotation. This is a potentially cycling supercell where one couplet here, one mesocyclone begins to be absorbed within the rain cloud. And then we start to see, so this is where we would see that first one, it's getting absorbed into the storm, and we might see a new rotation forming on the southern part. So this is a cyclic supercell. That's an indication this is a very healthy storm, that it's breathing really well. It might reduce the tornado threat briefly, but then it quickly increases that tornado threat. So as we look over the last several scans here, notice right here at 12:17, we had a near perfect hook echo right there on that storm. If we swap back over to our velocity at that same time, I'll have to pull it back to 12:17 is what that time was. We had at that time one single area of rotation. Now as we push this forward, we've seen that one area of rotation somewhat split into two areas of rotation. So that's likely, I say all this and bring you through my analysis in my head just to say that this may cycle back up. It might look like a mess right now. It doesn't look quite as organized as it did southwest of the Weiner area, but it may cycle back up between Jonesboro and Truman, Arkansas. As we look back on a wider view here, I just want to keep my eyes to the south here. That storm to the south around Grenada, the National Weather Service is talking about that storm having some more significant factors to it as well. We'll take you briefly through that. All right, so we've got some contamination. So right in here, when I say contamination, there's something in the storm that is making the radar jump from thinking that it's moving away to thinking it's moving toward the radar. So there's something happening within this that's sort of folding it back. Instead of continuing down this direction, it's looping it back over to that. So I'm going to switch over a different velocity product, and this also has that contamination. So one thing that could indicate or could be a result, could be a cause for this, what we call range folding, is that the winds in here are moving rapidly away, and the echo of the radar beam going out, hitting and coming back, it's hitting it at such a speed moving away that it thinks it's going the other direction. So instead of it moving very fast away, it would be moving very quickly toward the radar site. So that's why it's sort of wrapped around itself there. So that's very likely a very, very powerful mesocyclone, so the rotating updraft of the thunderstorm. I'm going to check on the debris detector here. With it being in so much noise, okay, so there is a debris ball. So again, this is outside of our viewing area. It's not any of our particular viewers, but with me tonight, I'm sort of carrying you along what I'm thinking in my head of these thunderstorms. So that tornado, we can almost certainly call it a tornado. I'll check that warning is for a confirmed tornado. Yes, so the National Weather Service says that it is an observed tornado, and this one in particular is a particularly dangerous situation. So we've heard that language for our tornado watch that's present. That language can also be used for a tornado warning of a particularly dangerous situation where a life-threatening situation is present. Some of the language from the National Weather Service here: flying debris may be deadly to those caught without shelter. Mobile homes will be destroyed. Considerable damage to homes, businesses, and vehicles is likely, and complete destruction is possible. That's why we have such strong language from the National Weather Service. Again, this is outside of our viewing area, so we are fortunate in that respect, but of course our hearts go out to our neighbors between the Duck Hill and Grenada area here. If you have anyone, any family who lives in this area, this is Grenada County, Mississippi, check in on them, make sure that they're all right this evening as these storms continue. I want to take you back up to the west part of our viewing areas. We now do have a severe thunderstorm warning. This is for 1¼ inch diameter hail. So we've seen that hail core diminishing, but it still has a chance for some large hail within it. So let's go ahead and review some of this thunderstorm. So this is around the Wynne, Arkansas area, Forest City, Arkansas, north of Marianna, Arkansas. This is right along that Interstate 40 corridor. Let me get some of that information on the screen for you here. So this is into 1:15 a.m. So we've got another 35 minutes on that particular thunderstorm. So I get some of that information up. So it looks like 60-mile-per-hour winds and half-dollar-sized hail. Again, 1¼ inch in diameter. We are seeing the chance for that to move into parts of, this is Cross County off to the north for that corner of the storm. I'll shift this out of the way here. There we are. So the Wynne, Arkansas area here in Cross County, almost all of St. Francis County, and then the northwest, we'll call it third of Lee County here this evening. That thunderstorm presently, I get information on its motion here. It's moving northeast at 55 miles per hour. So now this one's moving a little bit quicker than some of the other thunderstorms have this evening. So let me clear off some of the stuff on here, and we'll get a motion on that storm. Just as we see, I'm going to do a quick approximation of its heading here, and then we'll follow that forward. So I'm going to put this, we call it a skit. I'm going to redo that, do a little bit longer, and pull it northeast for the next hour here. So if I Move that over here. All right, so some places here that are along this warning. Goodwin, Arkansas, it's going to be on your doorstep here very soon. So it's around 3 to 5 minutes out. We'll start to see that heavier rain moving into your area. So this is the time to, if you've been out watching the lightning, there's plenty of lightning with these storms. Now's the time to come inside and seek shelter away from windows. 60-mile-per-hour winds can bring down branches, large limbs of trees, and that can cause damage to your home. So you don't want to be on the outer walls of your home. You want to be more inner walls of your home, interior room, lowest level of your home. You don't want to be right next to your roof if possible. On up the interstate towards the Madison area, 1:05 a.m. is your approximate arrival time. Of course, this warning goes until 1:15, but around the Parkin area, that's just to the north here, this is into parts of Cross County here, eastern Cross County. It'll be in your area at 1:15. Again, you're outside of the warning presently, but eventually towards Turl, Arkansas, around 1:30. And then this may eventually move into Shelby County as well. Looks like we had some quarter-sized hail around the Viner area off to the north from here. So I'm going to shift their camera to the north. I'll clear off that real quick, and then we'll shift back to the north here. So the Viner area had some 1-inch diameter hail. There was a hail report showing up there. So let me see if I've had any other storm reports around this region here. Bear with me if I find that. So all local storm reports. We haven't had any showing up here. Jonesboro area, that wind report there, that was actually a 59-mile-an-hour wind gusts before all of this came through. We've seen numerous reports of tornadoes across northeast Arkansas. That's where we had a confirmed tornado warning. That's why we had our first tornado cut in several hours ago now. About an hour ago. But this is nothing here in our viewing area just yet, but this is a sense of what has been going on across not only our region, but across the nation as a whole. This graphic is lagging because of the massive abundance of straight line wind gusts we've had today with this storm system. There were dust storm conditions across central Oklahoma through the day today. South of us, of course, there have been a couple of those tornado reports as well, just outside of our viewing area. With this being a severe thunderstorm warning of 1¼ inches in diameter, I'm going to bring that information to you as well just over the next several minutes here. I'm going to step off screen here for just a moment, but the camera will stay here on that radar shot. Forest City, of course, if you are in the Forest City area watching us, we thank you for staying up this late with us or anywhere else within our viewing area. We appreciate you bearing with us as we continue to bring this severe weather threat for our region. Of course, that severe weather threat is greater than just a baseline threat. So whenever we have stronger thunderstorms affecting our viewing area, we always want any of our viewers to be safe across this area. So if you're in the Forest City region here, you want to be aware of this storm. You don't have to take shelter immediately right at this very moment, but be ready to take shelter if you have not already. So 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts and half-dollar size hail can do a variety of damage. That can bring damage to shingles, damage to limbs as well. It can bring damage to your vehicles. When the hail comes through, that can bring some damage there as well. So if you are in Forest City, I'll give you this. A piece of advice, if you're up towards Wynn, if you have a carport or if you have an area for your car to park, over here in the Weather Center now, just needed a moment to rest my legs and sit down. If you have a carport, if you have somewhere to park your car under shelter, go ahead and do that now. Now would be the good time to do that. If you are in eastern parts here of Cross County, if you're already under that thunderstorm, I wouldn't risk going out at the moment. Though it doesn't look like we have much for lightning within that thunderstorm. Lightning can still spark outside of the warning or outside of the thunderstorm itself. And keeping an eye, of course, on the discussion from the National Weather Service about these thunderstorms. They've not had any indication of, any confirmation of those thunderstorms threats. It's mostly viewed by radar. So if I switch over here to our hail tracks, we can see that we've had those hail tracks along south of the I-40 corridor here. So if I get a little investigation tool here, we see that we've got 1.5 inches there. The reason why we see sort of this tiger striping, Sergio, if we could switch over to Max 1 in the box here, I appreciate it. Sorry, I didn't communicate that to you. There we are. Sergio is our production assistant who's in the back this evening helping me out. So quick shout out to him. I really appreciate him being in the studio here with me tonight. But we've seen over the last several scans, this sort of jumpiness is just because the radar has to swing around, and in the time that it's not looking, it's continuing to move. So it looks like the hail threat has been diminishing a little bit with this storm, going down from 1.5 inches to 0.6 inches. Sometimes, though, the hail track is a little behind. However, our hail track is showing very little hail in this storm right now. That was something I was looking at earlier, was that the indication of the hail core on the radar presentation looked very weak, or that it was weakening. So earlier, if you were with us about, we'll say 20 minutes ago, that thunderstorm had some of the deeper purple shades within the legend. You can see that we've got some higher rainfall rates, and that can be also some hail possible, but that purple to brown shade has really diminished in recent scans. So I would maybe say that the hail threat has diminished for this thunderstorm quite a bit. And one thing I also noticed is that it's been trimmed off just a little bit. Just a little while ago, we had the warning included parts of Lee County there. That is no longer the case. It has been updated. So let me get the info up on that storm presently. This is 1 inch diameter hail. So the National Weather Service agrees that the hail threat has diminished. And this is the thing to consider. Even though the radar algorithm that we have in-house may be saying the hail is not present, it's just an algorithm. It's one tool we can use to cross-reference. But it's another thing to say, it could still produce up to 1 inch diameter hail. Whenever we have a warning for wind, for hail, for tornado, that is up to the maximum threat possible. It's not what is going to be seen everywhere. So it's starting to look a little bit less of a widespread impact. One good thing, just to update our viewers up towards the north here, south of the Jonesboro area, we see that rotation of the storm, but it is no longer within our viewing area into Poinsett County. If we take a look at radar, it looks a little more sloppy than previous scans have been. If we just go back over the last several minutes here, this is around the time here, around 12:30, we were talking about perhaps this redeveloping a new couplet. It looks like it did not have enough energy to properly develop that secondary couplet, though it still has that presentation of that hook echo. If you look at sort of the back of your left hand, the front of my right, you'll notice that my palm and my fingers are lined up with the Jonesboro, the rain out there from Jonesboro to Lakeview, and then where my thumb curls in, that's where we have the hook echo and the potential rotating part of the thunderstorm that could develop into a tornado. All of that to say, when we compare it to the storm winds, this is the velocity, the speed of the winds, there's a very weak signature of that rotation. That being said, though, this is very far away from the radar site. We're looking several thousand feet not miles, up into the atmosphere here. So we're not seeing the lowest level of the column of air, which may be rotating. We're only seeing up here. So some reports from local law enforcement is that there is rotation on the base of those clouds. So we still see on the radar image, we still see that classic hook echo, just like the thumb curling around. And so that's the mid-level of the storm that still is following the shape of the base of the storm, continuing to rotate up. So that's why we still have that tornado warning there between Jonesboro, Phillips, Ridge, Arkansas as well. And again, that is just outside of our proper viewing area that we still see that threat. Looking off towards the full view of this, we've got another storm that's backed up behind all of these others as the threat looks to be diminishing just a little bit. That's outside of our viewing area, but another hail report. So, of course, if you see any hail, I'll throw in a quick plug here. I'll have to search for this graphic if you just give me one moment. We have our Facebook group, the ABC 24 Weather Watchers Facebook page. So if you're following along with us, we really appreciate you sticking with us through this whole event. One thing, of course, you can text your weather photos to 901-321-7520, or you can search our Facebook page through this QR code. We'll go ahead and pull that up for the full screen here. You can scan this QR code if you pull out your phone. If we look at the Max 2 graphics here, Max 1 graphics, I should say, there we go. We've got that QR code. You can scan that, and that'll take you straight to your Facebook app on your phone. If you don't have it on your phone, you can search at ABC 24 Weather Watchers or just the full word phrase on Facebook. Send those photos to us. We'd really appreciate that. We'll share them on air tomorrow as we summarize this event for you. You will have to request to join that page. Once we wrap up, I'll make sure to go through and approve those requests, but I'll have it up in front of me just in case we get any new requests to that page. So we'll take you back to radar here. Just reset the scene as we're coming up towards the end of the hour. We've got several areas under severe thunderstorm watches tonight. If we zoom things out, we've got a severe thunderstorm watch off towards northern Indiana into Ohio and southern parts of Michigan. A tornado watch is present here along the border from Illinois to Indiana through where the Ohio turns south towards Paducah, through the Memphis area, and all the way south to the I-20 corridor between central Mississippi and northeastern Louisiana. This is a very widespread severe, look at that. We've got a couple of folks who have just requested to jump into the ABC 24 Weather Watchers group. Thank you so much, you two, for jumping in. I'm sure we'll have others getting approved here within the next little while. But appreciate you all sticking around with us tonight and staying tuned with this threat. Of course, we were talking earlier this week about a conditional threat. If the storms go, they will be strong. If they just never really get started, we may dodge a bullet. And it seems for the most part, we are not seeing the greatest potential for this severe setup. So that is good news for us. We can celebrate that. That being said, we still have tornado warnings to our north, and we've still seen reports around the area of a lot of damage, not just here in the Memphis or Mid-South area, but across Arkansas, up through St. Louis, on into Iowa. We've had numerous warnings along this area. So, of course, our thoughts are with those folks who have been affected tonight. So far, the Mid-South has been spared, and that is some good news that we can be encouraged by tonight. In the meantime, though, just outside of our viewing area, Pine Bluff to Gillette, we've got another severe thunderstorm warning outside of our viewing area. I'll get some of that information on the screen for you. As radar indicated threat, we could see some severe winds with that storm and quarter-sized hail, so that's a baseline severe. If we were just on a normal night, we would not be bringing information for baseline severe thunderstorms in an extended format. We would jump on air, give you the information, and step aside. But just with it being, almost 1 a.m. here, looking up at the clock behind me here, we're not seeing the need to drop out and return to, say, live sports or a live program. We would just want to stay with you as the storms go tonight. Sergio, if we could pull the Max 1 up full real quick. I'm going to step away here and grab my grab my water bottle across the room here, back over at the green screen. But we do see that we've got multiple warnings around the region. Many of them are not as strong as would ordinarily be a dire situation, though it is still something we need to be monitoring over the next several hours here tonight as these storms continue. Give me one moment as I take a quick sip. Alrighty, back with you now. If I were at home, I'd be sitting on my couch and looking at this as well. So, we're just doing what I'd be doing at home if I weren't here on air this evening. So I'll take you back through as we're coming up to the 1 o'clock time frame. Some folks may be tuning in, tuning out at different times. So we're covering a severe weather threat across the area. We'll do a full reset on the setup here. We've got a moderate risk. We have changed the day. So I'll actually have to go back in and see if I can adjust this graphic, because now that we are in the following day, all of my graphics are off. So this, you'll have to bear with me, is no longer going to show the present threat for our area. Just by the nature of the graphics updating at midnight, they push forward into the next day. This is technically tomorrow's event. So tonight, things are pretty much winding down, so I would say that the moderate risk is less of a hazard for us. But tomorrow, we still have up to a moderate risk in some of our farthest southeast communities there. So that would be into parts of Alcorn County, all the way down through Lafayette County and Tippah County. It just barely skims our viewing area. Then as we move towards the north and west, you see that orange stripe. That is the level 3 enhanced risk. Level 2 slight risk, level 1 marginal risk, and then just general thunderstorms outside of that. So pretty steep gradient as we look towards this area, towards the deep south here. I'll zoom in. If you have neighbors this area, or if you had plans to travel tomorrow, this is another thing to think of. If you were planning to travel down the I-22 corridor, headed to Birmingham tomorrow, I would advise to postpone those plans. If you can, wait till Sunday or go another weekend, as this is going to be a significant severe outbreak. We've seen a significant outbreak tonight, just not quite in the Mid-South, a little farther to the north. The I-20 corridor from Birmingham to Meridian to Jackson, Mississippi, down towards Hattiesburg, Aberdeen, Mississippi there, all within that Columbus, Mississippi, that area could be under a significant threat tomorrow. As we look at the tornado risk with that area, this is higher than the risk we had today. Granted, we've not really seen the storms form in the window of time that would tap into that risk, but tomorrow, this is a daytime event. So this is going to be having plenty of heat down at the surface for these thunderstorms to spark off. One thing we were combating tonight was as we got past sunset, the surface began to cool, we began to stabilize the atmosphere, and it was less of a significant threat for us. That's been one of the good things that we've had. Unfortunately, tomorrow, not going to be the case around this area here. Towards the south and east. I skipped ahead from our to our 7-day there, but looking at the hail outlook tomorrow, hail is not as much of a threat here, a little more threat towards our south and east. And then the wind threat, straight line wind threat is going to be even less of a threat for us. So that's some good news. The damaging wind threat isn't as bad, but we could still see some widespread severe thunderstorms with other threats as well. Let's just take a look at the current conditions around the mid-south this evening. As we do have some temperatures a little on the cooler side from earlier, but it's not where we should be at this time of night. It's 1:02 a.m. and the temperature in Memphis is 74 degrees, and it is March 15th now. Mid-March, this would be a warm afternoon. We had highs this week at that temperature. The thing is, we've had such a strong wind out of the south that has continued to pull in very warm air. The winds right now are 29 miles per hour. That's not even the wind gust. I don't have the gust map on my graphic system here, so I'll have to pull up somewhere else. So let me just get a quick read of what the current wind speeds are around our area with those wind gusts. It looks like we've got gusts here around the Memphis area. I'm having to switch through layers. 41 mile per hour wind gust right now at the airport. So very strong gust. Of course, wind at near 30, gusting at 41. Off towards Jackson, Tennessee, gusts are around 29 miles per hour. The Bolivar Airport reporting 40 mile per hour wind gust right now, sustained at 22 there in Bolivar. So very strong winds out of the south have continued to just sort of blowtorch us with warm, moist air. As we look at the dew points, the last couple of hours, we've seen the dew point go from 58 to 63. So we've increased the amount of moisture that is here without losing much of the energy as well. One thing I'm going to, you'll have to bear with me as I sort of pontificate. We'll jump onto the radar view for a moment. The Jackson National Weather Service had indicated a few hours ago that they were going to send up a new weather balloon. Now, we send up weather balloons across the country at several dozen sites across the country that take us a reading all the way up to the top of what we call the troposphere. That's about 10 miles up in the atmosphere. The base of the storms, the base of the clouds today have been around a mile up. So 10 miles up would be the top, the very tippy top of these thunderstorms. And we send a balloon up. It goes farther than just 10 miles up. It goes up into the stratosphere eventually and gets a scan of that full profile of the atmosphere. And Jackson was supposed to send one up a couple hours ago. Doesn't look like, it may have been the New Orleans that I was reading rather than Jackson, but also Nashville also sent up a weather balloon just within the last little while here. And the observed sounding shows that we've got some stability. So out towards Nashville, out well ahead of us, I'll get my pointer tool here. Out towards here, that's about 2 kilometers up, 2.5 kilometers up. So that's about 1.5 miles, I'd say. There's a lot of warm air aloft. So you see these clouds that are out here ahead of these storms. There's some warm air just above that. Excuse me, I'll have to correct myself. These would be very high level clouds. So Apologies for that. But below these clouds, there's a lot of warm air, and warm air above the surface is not good for a thunderstorm. What you need is buoyancy. You know, hot air rises, you know, like in a hot air balloon, you start going up. But if that hot air balloon were to encounter air that is warmer on the outside of the balloon than the air in the middle of the balloon, it would no longer rise. It would actually begin to sink until it found what we call equilibrium. And that's what's happening with some of these thunderstorms. We've had just the warm, moist air at the surface. You know, we're in the mid-70s for the temperature. The dew points are in the 60s. All of that moist air is rising, and it's encountering this almost lid on the atmosphere. Above, it gets much, much colder than that. But we're talking about temperatures that go from, say, around 40 degrees to around 43 degrees. And so those storms go up, they hit that little bit of warmer air, and they stop. If there was something to force them through that, there's temperatures that are 30 degrees, 20 degrees, 15 degrees, very, very cold, much farther up in the atmosphere, but that's several miles up. And we just don't have the forcing to get those storms going. So that is some good news for us there as well. I want to take a quick look at National Weather Service information, see if they have any new information. So they do have new information that they are canceling the severe thunderstorm warning for St. Francis and for Cross County at the moment. So that has not updated in our system. Sometimes when it updates or when the National Weather Service cancels the warning, sometimes it doesn't process in our system right. So this warning has been allowed to expire. That's some good news for us. That would mean that we no longer have any active warnings across our viewing area. For the moment, I feel like we're starting to near the end of our potential for significant severe thunderstorms across the area. So that would be some good news for us. We are likely to see another storm or two moving through southeastern Arkansas, moving towards our areas there in Phillips and Lee County, though it looks like the worst potential is over as these storms are diminishing in their strength and their intensity. They're not tapping into, as I was just looking at that balloon information. In Nashville, it's 71 degrees, but those storms just, it's very unlikely that they will tap into what potential that they could see. Farther south, towards the New Orleans area here, so I'll get a wider view on our radar. One moment, there we go. So between New Orleans and Nashville here, this area, this profile goes from very unstable down towards New Orleans, but there's just nothing there to kick off the storms. There's very low level, about a half mile up. There's a lid on the atmosphere, so nothing's getting through that from the surface up. Then above, that could potentially get going. But it also has a secondary lid up here. That first lid does not translate all the way up to Nashville, but that secondary lid is much stronger up towards the Nashville area. So if we just sort of connect the line between there and pull it back towards our area, we very likely have pretty much a layer of stability across our whole viewing area that is preventing these storms from going. That is what we've been talking about, that conditional threat of if they start, they will be bad. We've seen that already tonight to the north. We've got numerous tornado warnings, though none are confirmed anymore. That's some good news. We're going out of some of the loaded radar range here. I'll pull up the composite imagery. You see all the way up towards Wisconsin, some severe thunderstorms up that direction, much more congealed line of storms up that direction here. multiple tornado warnings just outside of our viewing area. And a new one here that just clips into parts of Mississippi County. We've been just recently getting information on. So let me pull that one into view, as this is around the Leachville area here, Manila, Big Lake. If we switch back over to the velocity here, this shows that just to the east of Leachville, Arkansas, we've got some weak rotation on that thunderstorm. So this is why we don't drop back out, or haven't dropped back out to programming here. We've got this zone where we've got a little bit of weak rotation at the moment. That could move up towards the Cardwell area here within the next 20 to 30 minutes. So I want to take a check with the National Weather Service here on that information for that tornado warning up towards Mississippi County here into parts of Pemsicot County, it looks like. That's just going into the boot heel of Missouri, excuse me. Off towards the Kennett area, again, that's just outside of our proper viewing area, though sometimes our signal does carry. There is a pretty stout rotation signature on that particular thunderstorm up there. Meanwhile, of course, this warning here into parts of I'll get that query on there. As parts of Cross and St. Francis County, that has been allowed to expire early. It'll just cancel in our system when we hit back around to 1:15 a.m. time frame. This is very much on the fringe of our viewing area, but that unconfirmed tornado warning is present because as we see some mid-level rotation, that could be translated to the surface. The thing is, it's just so high up in the atmosphere where the radar is intersecting it that we can't really tell at the surface if that is translating down to the surface or not. Looking back on a wider picture here, I'll take you to the full view of our viewing area. That one storm to our south that moved through Grenada County looks like it's going to miss the Oxford area, so that's some good news. Lafayette County, you'll likely hear some rumbles of thunder. I'll pop on the lightning. See north of the Water Valley area, you're going to have some rumbles of thunder here very soon, though the severe threat and the tornado threat is well to your south. An abundance of lightning. Let's just take a quick count on this. It should pop up there. Yeah, over 450 strikes with that severe thunderstorm. Most of those are positive strikes. So positive strikes versus negative strikes, it's very complicated, but positive strikes are typically the more rare type of lightning, but they are the more abundant lightning in this case, just as a matter of how powerfully the storm is throwing up an anvil cloud right now. So that's very fascinating to see, though not necessarily an indication of a good or bad risk, but just the fact that it is a powerful storm with a ton of lightning, a ton of hail, and of course it did have a confirmed tornado on it several hours ago. Looking back to the north here, this particular storm is not impressing me. If we look farther away from that radar site up towards the boot heel of Missouri, that storm has a much more organized hook to it. And we see just outside of the Blytheville area, far more chaotic storm setup there. So that one is less likely to be producing a tornado. Of course, we've got the difference between these two being that we've got that particular thunderstorm has a couplet. We've got a bright green color there and a pink color. And this says in the warning description that this is a public confirmed tornado. So I want to switch back over to our debris detector. We've looked at this a lot tonight, and this is just too far up in the atmosphere to really say if there is a debris ball on this storm or not. But since it is public confirmed, that's why it has that shaded pink tornado warning versus the unconfirmed radar indicated warning that intersects part of our viewing area here. I'm going to take a quick sip of water. If you would just bear with me for a moment. All right, back with you here. Got to wet my whistle a couple of times here through the evening, but as we have some thunderstorms around the area, down to the south, the Wynn, Arkansas area, you probably heard some rain starting to come down. That warning has been allowed to expire. It was expired early in our system. Sometimes it just doesn't update, but it is no longer present. That's some good news for us. Now the only warning is off towards northwestern Mississippi County. We've got a continuation of that warning. Excuse me, please excuse me that. A little burp came up, but I want to take a look at the hail size, the hail track on this storm, because the tornado warning that is present, which I'll turn that warning outline on. There you go. The tornado warning does have potential for some large hail and alongside that tornado threat. So I want to just pop that warning information on screen for you. I think I'll need to actually add the warning fill. There we go. So information on that, ping pong ball sized hail. Got a couple of additional boxes there. Ping pong ball sized hail and the tornado risk as well. Whenever we talk about ping pong ball sized hail, that's 1.5 inches in diameter. That can do a lot of damage. That's going to be leaving dents in your car. It usually isn't enough to shatter a windshield, but it will leave dents in your hood and in the roof of your car, and can do damage to shingles and to your roof. So that's one of the threats we have with that thunderstorm. Though it looks like it's leaving most of that hail in a path that would not intersect with our viewing area here. If you continue that on into the boot heel, the thing is, getting an actual update on that tornado warning. As you see, it's flashing now. If we'll take this full screen here, we've got a new update that is now a confirmed tornado warning, it looks like. So the National Weather Service has updated the language to a considerable threat. So the radar indicated rotation for a damaging tornado is now up to a considerable threat. So of course, if you are in the Leachville area, you are right on the very edge of this. Give me a moment as I switch us back to our radar view. We've upgraded this tornado warning now to a considerable damage tag. So this is why we're staying on. As we see the updates come in, sometimes the warnings change here. As we see on the southern side of this, it looks like we've started to see it wrapping up a new area of rotation just in the last 10 minutes, 5 minutes or so. Let's just loop this over the last little while here. So from Leachville on to the northeast from there, we've started to see a building of the radar. So Sergio, if you wouldn't mind taking Max 2 for me over at the green screen, I'm going to jump back over there just so I can hop on the wall for this. But this new warning update from the National Weather Service is showing us that we may see a more significant warning from that. So bear with me as I jump back over to the green screen. We'll pull that warning back up over here. Hello, as we have the storm that is just on the very edge of our viewing area, just starting to move out into the boot heel of Missouri. I'll have to log into my secondary computer here to get the National Weather Service chat up so I can get that information for you. So as we see here on the velocity track of that storm, it's begun to have more intense winds right here. So notice the pink color right above me, that's into the severe limits. Then we have weaker winds that are still moving away, but if you were to imagine with me, I'll actually draw it on so that we can, we don't have to imagine. I have the right product here. So this would be winds moving away very quickly and away more slowly. So this would still induce rotation in that area. It's just it's moving away from the radar site altogether. I'm noticing here, I'm getting an update that warning box no longer with that pink and purple shade. Looks like they put out a correction on that that tornado warning, no longer up to the considerable threats. That would be some good news, but of course we still see that threat of a tornado, the rotating storm at the moment here. If you bear with me for a moment, I'm going to investigate what the correction is on that. Of course, they've dropped it from that bright pink shade to the red shade, which is our indication of what level of warning this is. So it looks like it's just radar indicated. It's no longer got the tag, the considerable tag on it. So that's some good news there. We might not be seeing quite as significant of a threat. The considerable hail threat is no longer present. So I think that was the correction there. Considerable is usually for golf ball sized hail, 1 3/4 inch diameter hail. But this is just 1.5 inches. It doesn't show up on the box. But let's swap back over to our hail product because we can see what at least our hail algorithm is picking up within this storm. It'll take it a moment to parse through. I may have to take off the warning information here. There we go. So it looks like it's getting 1.1 inch hail on our algorithm, 1.2 possibly. Again, that is just our algorithm. That is our product that shows what the hail could be. That is not total truth. That it could be not seeing something. It could just may not be quite as intense as the National Weather Service believes it could be. They have other products different from our own. So that may be why we're seeing a slight discrepancy in what our products show and what the National Weather Service is declaring. So we'll trust what they are seeing because we don't have access to all of their tools that they use to monitor these storms. I'm going to swap back over to the velocity signature now. This is beginning to move out of our viewing area into the boot heel of Missouri. That's into parts of Dunklin County right now. Eventually it could move towards Pemsicot County. But at this hour, I look towards our south and east here, and I may begin to consider wrapping up coverage within the next little while here. Of course, we have multiple threats that we've had tonight, and that's why we've stayed with you through these storms. But things begin to become less and less likely to grow upscale, so that may warrant us to drop out from radar coverage. That tornado warning that is up there into parts of Mississippi County, being on the fringe of our viewing area, is until 1:45 a.m., though it may be canceled a little soon. We'll wait for that to happen. But things are beginning to weaken across our area. One thing I'm seeing out towards eastern Arkansas, notice with me this thin line of green. Of course, green is typically an indication of very light rainfall, But if you've been watching with us for a while, I appreciate your loyalty with watching us. But earlier we were talking about this end of the radar scale, of the reflectivity. This is the very light rainfall. We kind of chop it right here, but we can technically sense below that. So I'm going to take that value down just to see lower. You see, we go from very clear air out here to a lot more noise, much lighter green shade here. And that line here, it looks like it's the outflow. I was mentioning it earlier. So let's just loop this over the last hour here and see where that comes together. That looks like that may actually be a remnant of some of these thunderstorms. Let me slow this down as it's moving rather quickly on the radar site. So this is actually where these storms have been sort of pushing out from behind. We've seen some of those showers gathering together right along the backside of that dying storm, just right as it moved into our viewing area. So that may be where we're seeing these storms become outflow dominant. So when I say that, imagine as the storms build, that is the big inhale. And as they continue to inhale, they continue to strengthen. But as they weaken, they exhale, they drop out all of their wind, and just as that storm does, it's dropping out and it weakens very quickly and it drops below the severe limit. I'm seeing that happening to the north. So this storm may soon have its own moment of an exhale. Currently, it is still breathing in to personify it. It's still pulling in air along that southern flank. Of course, we've had those very strong winds we've been talking about, so it's still a healthy severe thunderstorm. Off to the north, I want to just keep checking back in on this, this tornado warning now. This has also been a decently healthy storm, though it's had some noise within its rotation. And if we just go back over the last 30 minutes, its rotation has moved out of Mississippi County and into that's Dunklin County here. I've got a secondary map, I apologize. I've learned all of our counties in the Mid-South. Still learning all of our border counties just outside of our viewing area. But Dunklin County into Pemsicott County, it appears that that tornado warning is weakening. I wonder if the National Weather Service has indicating if they're not reissuing that tornado warning, or if they may be canceling it soon. They're talking mostly about storms that are south of our area. So this is just outside of our area again. But this is a more significant tornado warning. Again, this is not within our viewing area, but outside of Calhoun City. That storm is what went through the Grenada area earlier. Greenwood, Mississippi saw this thunderstorm. It sort of tracked along and northeast here, curving away from our viewing area. So we're happy to see that for sure. Happy, of course, a relative term. Taking a look here, I really think that this storm has fallen apart. So we may begin to wrap up coverage here within the next little while. Because at this moment, nothing is really showing any major indication of more upscale growth across the area. I'm going to step across the room here and grab my bottle of water if you just give me a moment here. But of course, we've got a new scan there. Just as I stepped away, I saw a new scan come in. I want to jump back before I get that sip of water here. I'll jump back here over at the green screen because a new scan just came in that shows that that storm has cleared our viewing area of Mississippi County. So that's some good news. We may be able to drop out here over the next few minutes just to keep an eye on things. I'm going to stay on this warning, because it does still have a lobe of itself in our viewing area. But at the moment, there are no severe thunderstorm warnings upwind, so upwind towards the southwest here. We still technically have on the fringe of our viewing area a warning that the threat is moving away from our viewing area, so that is good. And down towards the south, Lafayette County, that is where we see some thunderstorms. I'll pop on that lightning real quick. We see some thunderstorms. If you're around the Oxford area, Ole Miss, we've got storms in your area. These are non-severe. So I think confirming with our digital platforms here, we are going to go ahead and wrap up stream here. It's 1:30 a.m. We've been doing this for a couple of hours, so we appreciate you staying with us. Of course, we're going to still have more. So before we go out, let's leave you with some discussion of what's next, because we're not done with this only tonight. We're going to see another round as we head into tomorrow after our sleep. So ignore the tonight. I haven't had a chance to update this graphic as we went past midnight. It now pushes it forward into the next day. This is our Saturday severe weather threat. So we've got that level 2 risk across the Memphis area, off towards our far northwestern area, a level 1 threat, level 3 to level 4, to eventually level 5 here across the deep south. If you are planning to head towards Jackson or towards Birmingham or anywhere within that I-20 corridor between the two, Meridian, Columbus, down to Hattiesburg, I would say postpone. Any of your neighbors, any of your friends, family, anyone you may know in this area tomorrow, make sure that they are also staying tuned to the weather and keeping an update on their local news stations in these areas, as this is going to be a significant threat tomorrow for that area. Here in Memphis, we are on the very cusp of that risk. Still a significant risk, but it's just on the edge. If those storms go, again, it's going to be a pretty widespread threat. I think tonight, our threat was the conditional. We kept saying that. That's going to be the new buzzword, a conditional severe threat, just with how many times we've said it this last week. But the thing is, we could see a little more, confident, a more confident threat tomorrow with more widespread thunderstorms. Here's the severe hail threat. We could see a slightly less threat here, but the significant threat will be upwards of 2-inch diameter hail. The wind threat is on the lower of the 3 separate threats, the lower end. So let's take you through the forecast as we go through the overnight. This model overdoing what we have right now, so we'll take some of this with a grain of salt, but remembering to what we discussed a couple hours ago, it is showing that we've got this line of storms around 11 a.m. that's going to be bringing possibly some more severe weather here to the Memphis area, down towards Oxford, towards Panola County. So this is a line of storms that's around our area here. As we push this forward, that continues on up. Then we have a second wave that comes in at 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. So we'll have a first wave, possibly a second wave after that, and then that eventually pushes to around 5 p.m. We've got Corinth down past Oxford, down the I-22 corridor, and that pushes out by around 7, 8 o'clock, and we will be in the clear from then forward. So that'll be pretty much a wrap on our forecast. Of course, I will be back in tomorrow for this severe weather threat. Be sure to tune back in. I'm going to be coming in tomorrow probably around 10 a.m. Just to make sure that we're here before those storms do fire, and of course we will be cutting in over coverage. I'm sure there are programs tomorrow that you may be interested in watching. I'm uncertain if we have any sports scheduled. We may have to cover that, and we do apologize in advance for that. But for now, we'll take one quick check of the radar just to get a final confirmation that threat has diminished for us, because sometimes storms can back build, but that has now moved out. The National Weather Service has continued that through the boot heel out of our viewing area, and we have no warnings present across the viewing area. So with that, I appreciate your patience. I appreciate you sticking around with us tonight. We'll continue to keep an eye on this over the next couple of hours, but I really think that we are starting to see the last of our threats. For everyone here at ABC 24, we appreciate you staying with us. Make sure you download the ABC 24 app tonight before you go to bed if you didn't already have it, so that you can watch us tomorrow. I'm Meteorologist Kit Thomas. We'll see you tomorrow.